I'm passionate about retro gaming, old arcade and console games in particular, and I'm a keen collector of the games, systems and the mini consoles and retro compilations. The latter are a great way to get games I missed out on when I was younger or to discover systems I missed first time around. The Vasara Collection is one such compilation. Released by QUByte, who provided us with the review copy for this video, it features conversions of two classic bullet hell arcade shoot-'em-ups originally released exclusively in Japan by Visco, Vasara and Vasara 2 released in 2000 and 2001 respectively. The first thing I have to say about Vasara and Vasara 2 is that they are tough. Very tough. Bullet hell shooters aren't for the faint-hearted at the best of times, but these really are very difficult, and are amongst the toughest games I've played in the genre. Even getting through the regular sections of the games are difficult, with everything thrown at you, but the bosses are doubly so. If you're not familiar with bullet hell shooters, it's a subgenre of vertically or horizontally scrolling shoot-'em-ups that are traditionally split into stages, with huge bosses at the end of each stage. The name is derived, as you can see from the footage, from the sheer amount of enemy firepower that you come under. For the uninitiated, it can be overwhelming at first, and mastery of them is very much a case of remembering attack patterns, and in the case of arcade machines, having plenty of cash at your disposal to keep the continues flowing. Fortunately, both conversions have kept their arcade roots in the way they function. Rather than giving players a fixed number of credits to allow them to continue once all their lives are lost, or allowing them to choose how many credits to start the game with, it uses a coin system. By using the left shoulder button, you simply add coins at the start, and more can be added throughout play as you need them, just as you would have in the arcades back in the day, giving you as many continues as you need to get through the game, and boy will you need them. The setting for both games is rather unusual, taking place in an alternate timeline of feudal Japan in the 17th century. After the death of your emperor, a rival is attempting to seize power using an army of robotic fighting machines. Armed with little more than a katana and a hoverbike, you have to battle through these hordes to stop him at all costs. With a choice of 4 characters, each with their own craft, with differing weapons and abilities, it's just you in a battle against the odds. As well as your traditional bullet-based attacks, you can power this up by holding down the fire button, in a similar manner to R-Type, and when the fire button is released, this unleashes a powerful melee attack that not only deals extra damage to everything on the screen, but deflects incoming bullets as well. In addition, as you would expect from a bullet hell shooter, you have a limited supply of bombs at your disposal for each life for an even more devastating attack. The final attack on offer, and this is where the games get their name, is the Vasara attack. A more powerful version of the melee attack, and activated in the same way, these are charged up by collecting crystals that are dropped by your adversaries as they are destroyed. Once the meter is completed, you can unleash a deadly attack. All important power-ups can be picked up that improve your weapon throughout play. Unusually, compared with similar games, these are dropped quite frequently, so you can upgrade your weapons a maximum of 4 times. You soon realise why the power-ups are available so readily though, as you'll lose lives faster than the UK seems to change Prime Ministers at the moment, so grab them while you can. Less than half of the screen is used up with the game itself. The rest is used with artwork depicting characters from the respective games that you are playing. Unlike some arcade ports available, there's no option to stretch the screen display to fill the PS Vita screen, although it does offer what it refers to as a tape mode, which rotates the screen through 90 degrees and fills the screen up. While it's of no use to console owners or those playing the Vita version on the PS TV, it works well on the Vita itself, with the controls being remapped slightly to use the right analog stick for movement and minor changes to the button layout to fire the various weapons. In terms of the games themselves, obviously the visuals can't be compared to what we see from today's games, but to be honest, for games of that era in the arcades, they weren't really pushing the boundaries of what was possible either. Both games were based on the 32-bit RISC SSV hardware, but compared to games released by Sega and Namco of the same time, they look somewhat dated. As 2D shooters, both games look great, although Vasara 2 has the edge. There are signs of hardware scaling giving the backgrounds a slight impression of depth to them, although it's quite subtle. Sound is great with both loud punchy sound effects, and both have great soundtracks running throughout, although the speech seems somewhat subdued with the rest of the sound overpowering it. Whether this is down to the PS Vita port or the arcade originals I don't know, but it didn't spoil the experience at all. One thing that is common to both games is the multiplayer mode. Both titles had two-player co-op modes in the arcades, making the games slightly easier. And for those of you fortunate enough to own a PlayStation TV, not only is the Vasara Collection compatible with the micro console, but it also allows for two players simultaneously. Each player can use either a DualShock 3 or DualShock 4 controller, and both players share the same set of credits, although these can be added to continually as needed. The only downside I found in this mode is really a follow-on from the single player. In the standard game, collisions with enemy ships don't destroy you as you would expect in a typical shoot 'em up. Instead, pressing fire while in immediate proximity will cause physical damage to the enemy craft, and will either push them or your own craft back. Vasara is the only game in the genre where I've seen this used, but it also causes a problem. Instead of causing damage when colliding, when you cross paths, both players can nudge each other on screen. This can cause quite serious problems when there is a lot of action on screen, as players can quite literally push each other into enemy bullets. It adds an unnecessary complication to what is an already difficult game, forcing players to concentrate on avoiding each other as well as the intense firepower they come under. Unfortunately, it's not something that can be corrected in a patch without changing the very nature of the game, being a feature of the arcade original, and is one of the only things that disappointed. Hopefully it won't cause too many arguments when you play, because the two-player mode is where the Vasara Collection really shines, and it's immense fun and takes what is already a good game and makes it great, regardless of your gaming ability. Finally, unlike the console versions, there are just the two games on offer in the package and not the procedurally generated timeless mode. This full-screen 3D HD update of the game would have been a welcome addition to what is already a great package, and I'm not too sure why it was omitted here. The only reason I can think is perhaps QUByte felt that the multiplayer aspect of this mode was an integral part to the experience, and with that only being possible on the PS TV, the extra development cost for something that was only going to be available to a handful of Vita owners was too great. All that aside, both games play like a dream. They're addictive, action-packed, and ideal for those eager for an arcade-fuel adrenaline rush. Of the two, I'd probably say I prefer the first with its more traditional weapon and bomb system, but there's no faulting the package overall. It's superb value for money for arcade junkies like myself and anyone who loves a good shoot 'em up. It shines as a two-player game, but it's still immense fun as a single-player game, even if it is one of the hardest games you'll play this year. Just be prepared for lots of sleepless nights as you try to master this one. The Vasara Collection has been released digitally for the PS Vita, PS4 and Nintendo Switch, both of which are reviewed by my fellow team member James Christensen in another video, and the link to this is at the end of this review, through the PlayStation Store. A limited edition physical release was also made available through Strictly Limited Games, although these have now sold out. Well, that's it for the Vasara Collection, apart from the score, and to find that out, you'll have to wait a few seconds longer.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click on the like button and leave us a comment below. Also, spare a moment to share this video on Twitter, Facebook and all your social media pages. To get updates on all of our latest videos delivered straight to your inbox, subscribe now using the link on the screen.